And that is what I suppose I'm learning being out here, is that it's less about the compositional bangers and the super spontaneous moments, but it's more like... Yang, as you may be able to tell, I'm not quite in London. I am currently in a place called Portsmouth, and there's not really a lot going on here. And something that I always get people commenting, questioning, saying, oh, I live somewhere where there's not a lot of stuff going on. And obviously, by being or living near London, I am spoiled for street photography opportunity. And so I want to test myself. I want to push myself to go out and to try and take photos in places that a lot of people wouldn't deem to be particularly great for street photography, and see what I can create, and to try and prove to myself that I don't need London, I can shoot good photos anywhere. So that's a goal, that's a vision. Let's go do it. I wouldn't classify it as cheating. I've just been taking photos of the boats. Is that street photography? I mean, yeah, maybe. Is that too easy for what I'm trying to achieve? Definitely. So let's go try find people. Let's try find where stuff is. Let's try find stories to tell other than here's a boat. I also actually have no idea what's here, where anything is, or which direction to walk in. So kind of just following people. Sounds a bit weird to say it that way. Something else that I think is making this particularly realistic is the fact that it is very overcast, very flat, and although that looks like blue sky, I'm telling you that ain't making a difference. So here's an example of a story that I've just made up, and I don't know whether it's true, but it's something that we could tell. Back there was a bunch of what looked like small local businesses that look run down, look like they haven't been open in a long time. And then you spin around, and you've got all of these huge conglomerates that are in these new fancy buildings. And that's where all the money's gone, and everyone's on this side, and no one's on that side. If you live in this community, is that something that means something to you? Is that a story that you want to tell? So these are the types of thoughts we should be considering that's then going to allow us to create a story or a piece of work that actually means something to us, that we can tell that no one else can tell. There are people having fun if you look hard enough, and that I think these are really interesting stories. Because yeah, there was that woman who I have no idea what she was doing, but she's now got one of the worst experiences in the world, known as wet socks. From what I learned today, here's how I would approach photographing a boring place. Importantly, we have to think differently. It's less about the spontaneous moments, and it's more about the curated, narrative-driven work. And whilst these fun moments do happen, they are likely to be few and far between compared to the narrative-driven work that we can consistently be telling. So here are some ideas to help you take better photos in boring places. Number one, community stories. And we can look at this in kind of two different ways. We can be capturing the essence of local life, what it's like to live there, the local events, the unique characters in town, or even the simple daily routines of the people living there. Or we can also document, I guess, like pressing community issues, such as gentrification, controversial developments, decisions that I guess are unpopular with the public. old things versus new things, and just general ideas that the local people care about. And by tapping into the topics that you personally care about, this is going to give you the most amount of inspiration, the most amount of oomph and desire to get out and to take photos. As well as this, small details tell stories. There are so many overlooked small details around us that can describe the human experience. It could be things such as worn out handles, or where people create mud paths between actual paths because they can't bother to walk around, or even architectural quirks such as like wonky buildings. There are so many stories to tell if we just look a little bit harder. And it'd also be great to know which boring places you would like me to visit, so then I can photograph them and to hopefully put into practice all of the things that I'm telling you about today. And it's common to think, yeah, but people in my town, they're super skeptical about cameras, and you are absolutely right. But if you want to take good photos, we've got to overcome that. And the easiest way to do that is to become part of the community. What most people don't realize, I live in a village. I don't actually live in London. And the easiest hack to gain the trust of people that you want to photograph is to talk to them, to interact with them, to get to know them, and to be friendly. And if you explain to someone that you are there to document the local community, to tell the stories, chances are they're going to have some stories that you didn't know about that you can go off and tell. And this is so much easier than trying to hide and conceal what we're up to as photographers with a 70-200. And then we have local collaboration. How can you, as a photographer, go out of your way to help local businesses or councils document what's going on? Whether this is, I don't know, like documenting historical sites or traditions that like define the area, or just community projects that are going on. There are always people in your community who would really appreciate your creative eye as a photographer. And we can also embrace seasonal differences, because places change dramatically across the different seasons. And we can tell the stories about how the area changes in different weather, seasons obviously, and different light conditions. And by using a very similar angle or even the same angle, this really allows the viewer of these images to feel immersed in the changes. And something else that we should consider is how we can go out of our way when living in villages, quiet towns, to better prepare ourselves for when we have the opportunity to go and visit places that are seen as being better for street photography. And this can be as simple as reading books and getting inspiration from the greats, or at least photographers that you're looking up to. I'm currently going through Joel Meyerowitz's Where I Found Myself. Just gone through the Bruce Davidson bigger book, and it is so interesting seeing how they saw their smaller communities. And not only that, we can also be critiquing our own work and identifying how we can improve it for next time. And on that note, see you on the street.